Oh, what's up, YouTube? Today I'm going to show you what the big deal is about the infamous cam swap on a CS3 mech frame. I've always wondered that myself. I just got one. I play a lot of mechanical paintball with the roadies in the ICPL 10-man kind of series. We have the Classic Cup coming up here in a couple weeks, so have a vlog out on that. But I got this in the mail with the infamous mech frame trigger. You can also put that trigger on the electric frame if you care to do so. I know a couple pro players do. Don't really see a lot of divisional guys do it, but you have that options if you want to. So this is just the mech frame at its bare bones. You can kind of see the green lever piece right there on the cam swap. Super easy to switch out. All you have to do is remove these two screws on the plate and then reset it in there, screw it back in, and then just kind of mess with the tension spring where the screw is back on the back of the frame. Then you have, the infamous trigger. It's a little bit wider than the stock trigger that comes in the mech frame, I feel like. Plus it's got kind of those grooves on it, so when you're getting down and dirty, you have a little bit more texture to grab onto. This is the standard, trigger. Definitely a lot thinner, so don't really have as much surface area to play with. So what's like the big deal from the infamous to what comes in the stock? Stock, you can kind of see where it's like slanted, right? It has a kind of a ramp style from where the trigger frame interacts with it. So it's a little bit more poppier because it's sliding down that rail. When I got this in there, I definitely noticed that the infamous cam swap is more rounded. You can definitely see it on there where it's not as much of a slant. It's definitely more rounded from where it interacts with the trigger. So it definitely feels like it's a more rolling feeling, a lot softer, a lot more forgiving. So if you're trying to kind of crab walk on a mech frame, definitely a lot easier to do so. I'm not the best at doing it. We're going to give it a whirl here in a minute. But just to kind of show y'all, that was my kitchen. Everything. We'll put it back together real quick. So make sure when you're switching out your electro frame to your mech frame, you definitely put the little valve covering right onto the top. That allows for a better seal on the airflow. If it starts pissing air, that's probably what it is. Also, one big problem that I had, and shout out to Stephen McClanahan and Garrett Frakel for helping me troubleshoot through this. When I insert the new trigger and I went and tried it out for the first time, I got like 3 shots off and then it felt like it was dead. Like it wasn't freeing air out. So make sure to back off this top screw and then reset the trigger and then retighten it down. So if you're putting this on for the first time, the trigger, and you get like a handful of shots off and then it just dies and it feels like there's no action, or because the air is not getting to it, that's probably what it is. So put this back on. Valve is on. Input the 2 set screws. Put the grips back on, and then we'll go outside and give it a whirl. Here in Nashville, it's been snowing like crazy. My son was out of school yesterday. We got like 3 or 4 inches. I work construction, so nothing got done yesterday on site, but back to it on Monday. So get this in there. Also, after I do this premiere shooting video, I'm also going to give you a twofer. I just got the Infamous R5 by Planet Eclipse. This CS3 was my main setup last year. It has now been promoted to the backup, but the main Mech 10-man ICPL setup, obviously, because the R5 is purely an electro gun, not a mechanical. So I've shot Planet Eclipse for a couple years now exclusively, strictly because I'm a front player and they just get banged on and they can really, really just stand the test of time. I've shot other guns, other high-end premier guns. I've had them go down on occasion, not as frequently as everyone likes to explain, because at the end of the day, when you're spending $1,200, $1,600 plus, you're getting a lot of quality out of it. But in my experience, Planet Eclipse guns, I mean, you could throw them in the bottom of a lake, let them sit for a couple hours, pull them out, and they're still gonna fire, no problems. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend doing that, but you can get a lot of traction and durability out of them without sacrificing any performance. So, got it all put back together now. We're gonna go outside, give it a whirl. Okay, back outside. We're gonna give this a whirl. Like I was saying, Infamous haptic mech frame trigger. Infamous camswap just installed on the inside. Make sure that when you're resetting this new trigger, you back out that top screw, reset the trigger how you want it, and then tighten it back down. So, without further ado, we'll get it aired up. Turn this on. A little bit of broken paint in there. This is just regular GI field paint. Kind of get that over there. Get this flipped around. Actually, you know, we'll do kind of a longer body shot to where you're really getting an idea. Then I'll do a kind of on the target so you can see kind of ball on ball action. But let's give it a whirl. Paint's a little tad squirrely. I mean, I just pulled that broken paint out. I mean, it's not super crazy, but it is on target within a good little spread. You can definitely see the squirreliness though. But coming out of the gun, it feels great. Definitely the finger feels really good. I'm still kind of working on crab walking it with this small trigger guard right there. But definitely, I like it a lot better than the stock, so it's definitely going to come in handy for a Classic Cup coming up here in a couple weeks. So, would highly recommend the Infamous camswap and the Infamous haptic trigger on the mech frame. Now, getting into my new favorite X-ball marker, the Infamous R5. Why are you doing that? Stop. There we go. Infamous R5 by Planet Eclipse. This also has a haptic Infamous trigger on it. Infamous barrel. It's got the 680 back on it. I've loved it. It is super quiet. It doesn't have as much pop as the CS3. I don't mind the CS3 pop. They're just both kind of different in their own right. It definitely feels longer given that the front grip sets a little further up. A little bit thicker, but not as thick as like an LV2 grip. Really excited to use this as the main setup for the NXL this year. So we'll give this a whirl here in a second too. Shout out 40 Media, Will Mosley, and then shout out The Farm Sports. So give this a whirl. fresh paint. We won't use broken paint on this one. There we go. Ugh. Again, GI field paint, nothing super crazy. I'm sure everyone has shot this at their own home field. Just a little bit of a leftover. Infamous GEO R5. Bunker King's Control 2. Definitely love the new Control 2s. The internals are just a lot more cleaner. Plus, as a front player, I've used the original Control 1, had a problem with either the speed feed popping open or the entire top shell coming off. Played with this a few times now, really slammed it on the ground, no give whatsoever, which I love. So really protecting all the paint in there, because one thing that I do hate is, as a front player, when you're getting into your spot and you lose all the paint out of your loader, you can't immediately come out shooting. You got to take a second, re-put the stuff back together, refill up, and then kind of assess. And then by that time, so much has already happened. So definitely got a really nice sound signature to it. I do like it a lot. Again, not as much pop as the CS3. Feels a lot quieter, but it's definitely got just that more distinct Geo sound to it. So not a bad way to hold up in these cold weather. As you can see, there's a ton of snow all over the ground here in Nashville. We don't really get that. Maybe once or twice a year, if that. I mean, growing up, we barely got snow, so these last couple years has been pretty cool. But that is the infamous CS3 mech frame trigger, just on a stock CS3. This is the infamous GEO R5 with the nice milling and the infamous kind of haptic deuce trigger that they got. So until next time.